Good evening. It is time for today's tax talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. It is Crypto Tuesday, July 5th, the year of our Lord 2022. As we've been following the cryptocurrency down and down and down, it's been pretty. It is a roller coaster. But who's taking the most gamble on it? I think I saw several million crypto investors have now not millionaires any longer. They've lost a lot. We keep seeing about some of these crypto companies starting to go under, and we're going to see more of that. But that's what we're going to talk. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency and El Salvador. I hope you can join us. Won't you join us? I think we've talked about this before. We've been following the El Salvador plan here on today's Tax Talk since the very beginning. I believe it was September 7th, 2021, last year, when El Salvador made Bitcoin and the U.S. dollar their national currency. They created a app and delivered Bitcoin to everybody in the country, and they were encouraging people to start using Bitcoin to buy and sell, as what the intention of Bitcoin was, right? It's a medium of currency, not a holder of wealth. I was around in 1999, 2000 for the .com bust, and before that, used to go to a tavern and that I used to hang around with, and everybody in that tavern had some sort of investments. Everybody would get together and talk about this investment, that investment, and everybody was really good at it because the whole market was going up. It wasn't hard. You pick one, and you were almost assured you were going to get a winner until it wasn't a winner. And kind of the same things has happened with Bitcoin now. When you go in and your barber and your cab driver and everybody that you meet is giving you advice on what tech stock to buy in 1999, you kind of figure it's overbought. Same thing happened with Bitcoin or these others, right? Everybody's telling you, oh, I'm buying Ethereum, I'm buying this, I'm buying that. I'm holding this, I bought more, buy on the dip, but everywhere you went, everybody, and that's a very good sign that it's too late, right? It's overbought. And so then people start buying into the frenzy because it starts going up. It went up, 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 and so the leadership of El Salvador kind of got caught up into that. I give them a lot of credit in that they saw a trend and thought it may help their country out of poverty. Many in El Salvador are impoverished. They wanted to help the country. At least that's their stated goal. And obviously, so I give them credit in taking that chance. Anyway, let's start. First, as we do here on Crypto Tuesday, we always start at our favorite site, coinflip.tech, and coinflip.tech, and the value. So I thought it was interesting. Here's Bitcoin for the last 24 hours. As you see, it's not a very wide range. From 19,200 to 20,000. So, but let's look at the last, what I've been to, let's see if I can get this. So we go here, let's look at the last seven days, right? So this is the last 7 days. The last 30 days, well, it's not changing. Why isn't it changing? I had it working. Okay, so let's try it again. Last 24 hours, that's 7 days. Okay, well, let's try. Let's do this. Here's the last 7 days. It worked at rehearsal. Let's try it again because I know this works. If we go up go. These are the 7. This is 24 hours, as we always say on Crypto Tuesday. They generally go up, but these are all taking kind of a downturn. If we go to, so let's go to Bitcoin here, show the details. Let's see the last 7 days. There it is. Last 30 days. There's the last 30 days. There's the last 3 months. This is the last year and the last 5 years. So you can see that in 21 is when it really took off. And it's been quite a ride ever since. Go back up 1 year. So here's the 1 year. Been coming down all year. Go back up to 3 months. It's been on a downward spiral for 3 months. 30 days. Kind of hit the brakes and stuff. Kind of looking more stable. So here's the 3 months again. And the 7 days. And then the last 24 hours. Let's do the same for Ethereum. We know that they generally mirror each other, right? Let's see if we can get there. They generally mirror each other, so let's see if we can get the Ethereum. And there's the Ethereum. And here is the last 24 hours. Okay. Why it's not working. 7 days. There it is. Last 30 days. Kind of, they mirror each other. Last 3 months. Last year. Last 5 years. So, the El Salvador is taking the risk. I give them credit for trying to do something, and it's a big risk for them. So here's a story I wanted to start with. El Salvador purchased 80 additional Bitcoins at $19,000 each. Well, I got to give him points for consistency. The president of El Salvador, he's been saying, buy on the dip, buy on the dip. Well, I don't know if that's a dip. It's kind of I don't know if the dip is that deep. But El Salvador purchased 80 more Bitcoins at $19,000 each. Bitcoin is the future. Thank you for selling cheap, he said. And accompanied the text with screenshots of 40 purchases made on Thursday that totaled 1.52 million. So he's still buying. El Salvador's last Bitcoin purchase was in May, when the Central American country acquired 500 coins for a total of 15.3 million at the price of $30,000 each, because it had gone down. It had been cut in half. It was at 60,000. So he thought he was getting a bargain. He's buying on the dip. Well, it wasn't the dip. According to CoinDesk data based in the president's announcement, El Salvador is 55.03% down on the Bitcoin bet from September to date. The country has acquired 2,301 coins for a total of $103.9 million, but its portfolio is currently worth $46.6 million. Now, they didn't pay the top dollar for all of those. As we saw in May, they paid $30,000, not the $60,000 where they started. In May, El Salvador finance minister said that the Bitcoin amount the country had at the time represented less than 0.5% of its annual budget, adding that Bitcoin losses pose extremely minimal risk to the country's fiscal position. Is that true? That's what they say. And here's a story I wanted to. El Salvador's 1.4 billion Bitcoin city plan wobbles as crypto crashes. Remember the plan, because one of the big problems with crypto was the environment. Used up too much energy. And so places like China wouldn't let you mine crypto any longer. And so one of the reasons why El Salvador went to Bitcoin, wanted to be the first, because they want to attract Bitcoin entrepreneurs to El Salvador. And one of the things they wanted to do is use geothermal power at one of their volcanoes to power the city, the Bitcoin city, which would not only make it green, but also make energy cheaper, and therefore bring people there to create or mine Bitcoin. El Salvador president has received huge criticism from concerned citizens after investing millions of dollars from public funds on Bitcoin in a bid to build a $1.4 billion Bitcoin city now that the Bitcoin market has collapsed massively. Last year, the president decided to make cryptocurrency legal tender in the country. As a result, he purchased about $100 million in the digital currency, thereby announcing plans to build a Bitcoin city. According to the president, his aim was to raise the funds from the new Bitcoin city, putting to sale about $1 billion of Bitcoin-backed bonds. The community would be built at the base of a volcano that would provide geothermal energy and also be a source of power from the Bitcoin revolution. Despite the huge fund poured into the purchase of the nation's $2,300 bitcoins, 2,300, I should say, bitcoins, none has been sold, nor has any risen any value to make anywhere near making the profit. In a bid to manage and salvage the situation, the president made an additional $200 million investment in a subsidized Bitcoin wallet app called Chivo. The app has been since expensive to roll out and run. Several people have expressed deep concerns, especially with the fall of the digital currency currently sweeping without assurance to recoup investments. Many have questioned the president's intention regarding Bitcoin City. Local economists have expressed serious concern about the money being spent, claiming this type of project is too risky. It is risky. You know, if Bitcoin had grown like everybody had assumed it was going last September, right, then he's a genius. But it didn't, so he's not. Well, it's always about results, isn't it? We don't know exactly when or with what money they've bought Bitcoins. El Salvador's Bitcoin gamble. There are lots of questions about how the money is being spent. I know the country's finances pretty well, and there's not even the smallest margin for publicly funded projects, which are risky. The needs of the population are huge. Building a Bitcoin city is one of the most underdeveloped areas in the country. Would be like creating a billionaire's oasis in the middle of a desert of poverty. If he builds it, it's going to be at the expense of huge sacrifice for the Salvadorian people. Well, that's one man's opinion. According to BBC, earlier in January, the International Monetary Fund urged El Salvador president to discontinue the use of Bitcoin as legal tender. Well, he'd have to admit that he was wrong. That'd be very difficult to do. Of course, the IMF has a lot of power, don't they? The IMF highlighted the large risks associated with the use of Bitcoin on financial stability, financial integrity, and consumer protection. The IMF stressed that the decision would make it very difficult for the country to get a loan from the institution. El Salvador became the first country to allow consumers to use cryptocurrency in all transactions alongside the U.S. dollar. Despite the enormity of criticism flooding to the president's decision and evidence of Bitcoin's falling value, El Salvador's tourism minister insists that the citizens trust president's decision to deliver the Bitcoin city someday. We know that each of the president's decisions is made of the right moment. People have a lot of trust in his decisions and in how the country's economy is going. Other nations of the world are reportedly considering making moves just like El Salvador's. One of such nations is one of the nation's least developed countries, the Central African Republic, which also reached a decision earlier this year to make Bitcoin its legal tender. The country's president described the digital currency as universal money while announcing the news on Twitter. This year, Bitcoin and other digital tokens have suffered a massive eye-watering crash that has wiped trillions of dollars off the value of the cryptocurrency market and continues to pose potential fall even at the time of writing this article. So far this year, Bitcoin has change of negative 53.96%. In the last 2 months alone, it has lost about $1 trillion in value as investors ditch riskier assets in the face of high inflation and fears that the interest rate raises by central banks will hamper growth. In a recent tweet, the president reassured his citizens of his decisions. The president said, "My advice, stop looking at the graph and enjoy life. If you invested in Bitcoin, your investment is safe, and its value will immensely grow after the bear market. Patience is the key." Excuse me. I agree. And there they talk about they haven't realized any losses. They haven't sold any. So they're just paper losses to El Salvador. Now, eventually, those paper losses are going to catch up with you. This is another story. Let's see how much time we have left here. El Salvador postpones Bitcoin bond. The country's finance minister said the offering may come as late as September, according to Rutgers. So they were talking about this. It should be out now. El Salvador has postponed its plan to a $1 billion Bitcoin bond offering because of unfavorable market conditions. The offering was initially scheduled to take place between March 15th and the 20th, but the Russia-Ukrainian war and the war's impact on the price of Bitcoin caused the government to change the date. I think this is not the time. There are some moves on the planet, he said, according to that he prefers the issuance to occur between March and April. In May and June, sometimes you can, but the market variables get different. After September, it is difficult to raise unless you are previously funded, as in the case of Bitcoin bond, he added. The Bitcoin bond will have a substantial oversubscription that could reach $1.5 billion. The president announced plans in November to build Bitcoin City, funded by the sale of the bonds, which have an annual coupon of 6.5%. It's a pretty good return, isn't it? If they can keep it up. Half the funds will be used to accumulate Bitcoin, with the rest earmarked for infrastructure and Bitcoin mining powered by geothermal energy. According to the finance minister, the bond will be issued by state-owned thermal energy company LagGeo and will have a sovereign guarantee provided by the Salvadorian state. Okay, so there you have it. It is risky for El Salvador, but you're in for a pound, you're in for a dollar. In for a penny, in for a dollar. How's it go? Anyway, you have to. They really don't have much of a choice. They have to hope for the bear market to turn around. They buy on the dip, and the average price is lower. And if it goes back to where it was at $60,000, is that ever going to happen? I don't know. I think that there's going to find a level, and Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. Blockchain isn't going anywhere, and they're probably they're going to find a level and maybe be stable one day. I don't know how much people. When you start seeing that it gets a lot of people involved when you see how fast it can rise. But generally assets and markets fall much more quickly than they rise. And so, when people see that it raises very quickly, they're in. When they see how fast it can fall, they get out. It's hard to get back in, isn't it? So anyway, that's where we are today. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to, as we do every day, I should probably move this to the beginning. I say that all the time, but I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. We need you to like and subscribe. We need to get this content out, and we need your help to do so. So please do that for us. Remember, if you have IRS problems, what you should do, because most people, if you're suffering from an IRS problem, you know this. You don't know what to do. You're kind of caught. What do? I owe the IRS money. I haven't filed my tax returns. How do I begin? Here's how you should begin. Get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. Go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. Get your copy of Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. We'll ask you for a small shipping fee, and we'll send you a copy along with special reports and some other things. So you should go to freeirsbook.com, order your copy of Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow here on the station, and we hope you join us. Remember, you can join us always. Catch us at watchtalkradio.com. The latest episode is there on the front page, watchtalkradio.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you again.